Hi, this is James Maroney, founder of First Choice College, and in this month's episode of the First Choice 5, College Planning Tips in 5 Minutes or Less, we're going to tackle the college interview. First question, should you interview? The answer to that is an overwhelming yes, with one exception. Really, the only way that you could have a bad interview is if you come across as arrogant. That tends to put off the admissions officers. If you get very nervous, usually, they understand, right? That you're a high school student. You may not have been in a situation like that. If you think you are going to get too nervous, you don't need to interview, but I will tell you the interview is probably the best way to show demonstrated interest, to show that extra interest in a school. What kinds of interviews are there? First thing is informative versus evaluative. And what's the difference? Informative means that the admissions officer or the interviewer is just giving you information about their school. They're not necessarily evaluating you. An evaluative interview means that you are being evaluated by the interviewer who will come up with some form of a report and give that to the admissions officers who will look at that report when they're making the decision on whether or not to accept you. Even if it is an informative interview, there usually is an evaluative component in that it is a great opportunity to make a connection with a member of the admission staff, a member of the group of people who are going to decide your fate at that school. Next, on campus versus off campus. Um, Typically, if you're going to interview on campus, like it sounds, it would be on campus. Off campus, it could be at a coffee shop with an alumni, and we'll talk about that a little bit more next. Or sometimes colleges will travel, and they may go to your high school, so you may be able to interview on your own campus, but with a member of the admission staff of a different college. Next, alumni versus admission staff. So, a lot of the most highly selective colleges offer alumni interviews because they understand, they're drawing applicants from around the world and they can't all make it to campus for an interview. And so, they give them the opportunity to interview with an alumni in their home. And so, those interviews can be at the alumni's home, at the alumni's office, or in a coffee shop. Those are almost always evaluative in that the alumni will write up a report and then um, and then submit it to the admissions office, who will consider that report when they're making the decision of whether or not to accept you. If you're interviewing on campus, it's usually going to be with a member of the admissions staff. So it could be an admissions officer, it could be a student interviewer, or it could be someone who was hired just to do interviews. Regardless of who it is interviewing you, they will all have equal input that will go to the admission staff. So if it's a student, they've been trained and they trust um, their reactions to the students that they're interviewing. And if it's just someone who is just an interviewer, again, they've been trained by the admission staff and they do have valuable input into the process. So you should treat every interview with respect. What are they going to ask you? Most important thing is they sometimes they'll have your resume, but not always. Usually, if you're doing an alumni interview, they won't know anything about you ahead of time. But if you're interviewing at the college, they may know something about you, but they want to learn about you as a person. What makes you tick? They don't want to see just the what, right? The what that's listed on your resume, the things you've done. They want to know the why. Why do you do those things? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? What are you going to add to their college campus? Are you a go getter? Are you someone who's going to get involved, inspire other students? Are you going to add to the discussion in class? Why do you want to attend their school? There will usually be some form of that question. Why here? Why us? How did you choose your major? And if you don't know your major, that's fine. The odds are, even if you do know your major, you're going to change it within your first year. The average person changes their major 2 or 3 times. So, but if you do have a major and you know why you want to do that, that's a great opportunity to let them know. And a lot of times they'll ask some variation of this question. What's an accomplishment that you're most proud of? What's something that you've done in high school that you're really proud of? Or it could be what's an obstacle that you've overcome? How do you prepare? Well, there are a lot of other questions that they might ask you. So Going over a list of questions. First, though, before you're even preparing to answer their questions, make sure you know something about the school. Look over the school's website. If you do have a major, look over the department website. If you know who will interview you, research him or her. Look him or her up on LinkedIn, Google the name, and see what you can find out. Maybe they have an activity in common with you. Maybe they were on a sport team or they're in the band, and that's something that you do as well. Gives you the opportunity to ask him or her questions about that activity and build that relationship. Make sure you have a list of questions to ask the interviewer. It shows that you've done your care, you've done the research ahead of time. Also, if you're getting nervous, it's a great way to give yourself some time to catch your breath. Ask a question, listen, right? And that lets you catch your breath while the other person is talking. The other way is to take our video course. This is just First Choice 5. We've gone over 5 minutes, so we're going to wrap this up now. But we do have a great course that will prepare you for the interviews, a list of questions to expect. We interview one of the co-founders of Aced My Interview, as well as give you information on college visits and other ways of showing demonstrated interest to help improve your chances of getting accepted at a school. If you're interested in taking our Interview Plus course, you can go to firstchoicecollege.com/product/interview prep plus and enter discount code FIRSTCHOICE5 11 2017. The course on our website lists for $64.95, but you would get that then by entering that discount code for $29.95. I hope to see you next month. If you have any questions, email me at jmaroney@firstchoicecollege.com or go to our website to sign up for our free monthly newsletter.